We're going to do a little bit of talking, so if you want to come and have a seat, that'd be great. For just a few more minutes. You're all waiting by the cookies.
What?
Cookies, they're all back there. So come have a seat. We have a representative from the Blue Group.
Blue group, come on down.
Where's Karen? Man Group.
Where you on? You're right.
Steve, come on up. So what we're going to do this afternoon, the rest of the evening, is just quickly go through the whys. And for those of us on red and green, maybe we're just going to make sure that if we have something that's similar, do a little check next to it so we're not having to go through all of the different whys and why not. Just use the time. So, want to get started in your group? Read through a little bit of the ideas that you guys talked about. What reasons for
We should have
replication?
Brandy up here actually, because she really is over there.
We only got a half hour.
Oh, okay.
He said it.
That, gentlemen.
Yeah, we actually had basically two themes to what we were talking about. One was more the physical aspect, the facility, the logistics, etc. And the other one was more about the vision, mission of the school, where we are at towards our goals and our identity, and should Eagle Ridge, or the point where we should be replicating. And I think Jessica did it best. It's not a matter of if, when, timing. So physically, we talked about the fact, and Jason already touched on this, that this is, the current facility structure is not long-term sustainable for the classes that we're in and the direction we're going. And this was done with the mind that we'd be adding a second facility at some point anyway.
Yeah.
And another reason as to why is, I think as Brady said so eloquently, that charter schools are the answer to education reform. E-Ridge is doing it. We owe it to the community, we owe it to the kids to take what we're doing here and bring it to them and give them the same opportunity the kids at E-Ridge are getting now. We're thinking our academic program in other places. Dan, the neighbor, says go for it. Dan, right here. Dan, the neighbor, right here. Thank you for coming, Dan. We appreciate it. That's all we really need was Dan's approval right now.
Got other ideas.
On the why not side, we had some of the uncertainties. What's going to happen in a few years? We're looking at projections. Are the enrollment numbers going to stay where they're at? We're going to meet those goals. We're going to fall short. If so, then what? What about the ND of education? A couple of years ago, we had a 40% holdback on our state funds. What if the state's got a surplus right now, but what happens in 3 years if they start holding back 40, 50% of our payments? It's unknown. The logistics of a multi-campus staffing, and staffing especially, teachers that go work through different grades right now would have 2 locations that they have to serve. And the shared, or lack of shared resources, et cetera, can increase the cost and struggles. Would it keep us from focusing on the core of who we are and what we're doing? Would it be too big of a distraction, putting resources and time and energy towards an expansion? Would it detract from what we still need to do and continue to work on in our current grades? And what are the odds, slim to none, of getting a staff that is classically trained to staff the roles and that's the direction we go? And so we brought up, we would have to take teachers from the current K through 5 and split them up. Otherwise, we're going to create a separate school, a whole separate identity that may then come into conflict with these. When they come over here, these kids may be that much different in the environment that they're in. How would the staff handle that when they've got people who've been working side by side with them for years and all of a sudden they're being split up? So, questions from what we came up with? Great. Thank you. Ann?
Thanks. We're going to have Jason do group red.
Oh, we had a good discussion, a high level of participation, and Pete took a lot of our answers. So.
I was paying attention to
Many of the concerns were about the facilities in particular. We also voiced the idea, will the facility drive the decision-making process or vice versa? We want as much organic growth as possible. We don't want to dilute through complexity or separation, physical separation. That was an issue. Traveling teachers was another concern that was brought up. On the positive side, it was, again, it's the facilities. We have an opportunity for better facilities, better programs, more variety, especially at the upper school. And also, we want to build the credibility of the classical education model. If we can do it here, we can expand, we can show it can be done, we can become known as the best classical education school in the upper Midwest, maybe one of the best ones in the country at some point. And the main concern was just, are we ready right now? Can we do this? Okay.
Can I ask a question? Did you guys answer or try and answer that question of are we ready yet? Or even how do we know when we're ready?
Oh, the best answer was the gal said it's like having a baby. You're never ready and it's always messy when it happens.
On that one. All right, so the green group somehow ended up being the unusually large green group, and many new kindergarten families, so we're very happy. We had a number of different questions answered. Again, I think that comes to the fact that we do have a number of people that are on the wait list, and they would be attended by the lottery itself, meaning that they would be able to be part of a program that we've all benefited from here at the school. We want as many families to be able to have the same program that we have here. As has been said, duplicate, but the facilities enhancements, the amenities, the opportunities for additional programs, increased enrollment in the high school leads to those additional courses. Maybe it's advanced placement, maybe it's more offerings, and because of the ability for us to then have faculty teach those, we are offering then faculty fuller-time positions than they may have now, where they may only be very part-time. So we had a number of reasons for why. The why not comes down again to that potential. Do I have kids in two different schools then? How will that affect me physically? Not potentially, again, not having all the answers, but would you have a K-5 not housed in one program, one facility? Transportation. How do you make that small community feel? It's more of a cultural type of question. The larger you get, economies of scale too become a challenge. A question raised around, does it take away any focus from the upper school? You're talking about replicating a K-5 program. How do you make sure you keep your eye on the ball that's important to what's going on here at this school? And as we've discussed before, we're still recovering from the transition that we've made just opening up a lower school within the last 4 years. Understanding teacher engagement. When we talk about constituents being the families here, what are the feelings and thoughts of the teachers here at the school? How would it impact them? And making sure we're ascertaining their feedback in this whole process as well. Doubling staff, does that mean more management? What's the cost implications of that as well? Just like any other overhead. The administrators are not overhead, sorry.
We're used to that, don't we?
But if it's okay, I'm going to do something and take this opportunity. Cliff, you kind of closed up our session with a question that ended up being a statement. And if you don't mind, would you kind of share and try to replay, if we could replay what you said, what replication is to you. And I'd like perhaps you to share that with everyone. And in the typical style of our classical education, would you mind standing and doing so? You don't have to put your hands behind you, but.
I had just mentioned in our group about, I walked in late because I was at one of my students' other activities, but what the term meant to me was, what I would envision would be a whole separate Eagle Ridge campus, eventually K through 12, just in a different location for the whole opportunity for a whole other group of kids. So is that something that would happen overnight, K through 12 somewhere else? No, but that didn't happen here. This school started with, a grade or two And then the grades were added as the kids moved up. Every time they were ready for the next grade, it was available for them. So the reason why my kids are here is because of what we have here for them. They're not at Eden Prairie High School. They're not natural-born athletes. And I think, you know, trying to offer that is not what our strength is here. You know, if I have a high school football star, he's going to be playing at the high school. High school, he's not, you know, we're never going to compete with that. So why don't we, if we're talking about replicating, you know, replicate this product to a whole new group of people? That's kind of what I was thinking. So.
Jason, you want to close this
All
out
right.
then?
Well, great job of right on time. So respectful of that. Thank you so much for coming tonight. A lot of feedback here. The next piece is we're going to summarize this video online to let the rest of the community know. Get the notes online. Develop a survey from here. Feel free, any one of the board members, contact. This is open dialogue now. Email me everything that I'm getting. You know, I've already got some communications on that. I forward that on to the task force. Start this discussion. You know the timeline. You know the information you know. Get this out there because this is the real information. We don't want to start, oh, did you hear this is happening? All right? Thank you so much for coming. A few of us are going to stay around in case there's some individual questions to go from there. The next step is we're going to put out a call for people to be on some of these subgroups. All right? That's the next step we're going to need help on. So thank you so much for coming and have a great night.
You just want to help stack chairs, I'd really appreciate it.
Yes.